Hello, Think Natalia tribe. Today I have the honor of interviewing another amazing, phenomenal, creative genius, a person that I had the honor of working with, a client who turned into a friend, a success story that I would like to share with you. His name is Duncan Gillis. He comes from the beautiful state of Canada. He is a Pinterest strategist, consultant, a storyteller, and somebody that we can all learn a lot from because he has tons of experience in the area of strategy and consulting. So, Duncan, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Natalia. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So, who are you in the sense of what do you do for whom? Because I dropped in a few keywords, but we all know that nowadays people are like, okay, so what does it actually mean? What is it that you do? So in your own words, what do you do, Duncan, and whom do you help?
Yeah, what I do, Natalia, is I help brands and business to leverage Pinterest as a marketing utility to drive traffic and leads through a new marketing technique of storytelling embedded within the social channels. And where I came into this through another company I run called Maritime Vintage. And the easiest way to describe Maritime Vintage is it's the Stitch Fix, basically a bohemian and vintage decor. And what we do there is we actually, instead of selling a vintage or antique vase to somebody, we'll actually connect them up with an interior designer or an interior stylist. And we'll actually look at, well, if your room has gray walls and a red accent wall, you may not want just a white vase. You may want a yellow vase and these three other items to make that corner look good. So we evolved from an auction company into more of a home decor services that we offer the service for free if you buy the decor package with us. Once again, that Stitch Fix model, but for repurposed items. And where we came from is we came from a vintage history, right? So what I'm holding up there is a glass insulator that used to sit on the telephone poles, right? And once we noticed is that if earlier when we were just an auction house, I would put that up for auction, I would get $5 for it, right? But once we started repurposing these things into vintage decor items, we put lighting inside them and we put them there. So all of a sudden the industrial steampunk lighting package would be worth $400 versus the 15 if I just did the old glass part, right?
Wow, the power of storytelling.
And what happened though is that a lot of the people buying my auctions were interior designers. And what they were doing is they started coming in to pick stuff up and they would start staging stuff for me because chaos drove them nuts. They're all very organized people. They'd come into my warehouse and start staging this stuff. And all of a sudden I started getting much more higher markup on these things because they were staged in conjunction. So instead of selling one thing, I sell 5. And where that led to though is that my primary demographic once we started doing that was females that run the age of basically 35 to 60 because a large part of them were decorating their home. So I said, I got to start marketing this online. So I started aligning them with the channel that best aligned with that demographic, which was Pinterest, right? And what started happening is my technical background, I've got 20 plus years where I've been a technical consultant architect. So I'm pretty good at understanding the underlying technologies behind the algorithms and how to scale businesses. Is my interior designers that they're all mostly part-time workers or gig economy. A lot of them are retired folks that had done interior design for a while, started asking me the questions like, Duncan, and they run their own businesses, right? So they were asking, Duncan, do I need an online presence? Like right now, I just sell it in my home on the side. And would it be hard to set up an online site? Could we drive traffic with Pinterest like you're doing? And my answer was, well, yes, you should have an online presence if you're actively have a business that are selling, even if it just augments your brick and mortar. The barriers to entry have never been lower, so you don't need to go out if you didn't want to and hire a very expensive company to set up your website anymore. You can use apps like Shopify or Kajabi to quickly, I don't want to downplay it there, but you should be able to over a couple of months pitter away at it and get a site up and running. And that is when I actually then started documenting for my small interior design team the steps to leverage Pinterest to drive the traffic and leads by leveraging Pinterest's SEO capabilities. And that's where the coaching and consulting was born. And not only those interior designers, once that started getting around, I started having people coming knocking on my door. So I kind of almost fell into by happenstance is that I had been a technical consultant for many years, more in the project management, portfolio management range. But people started knocking on my door through that service to say, well, can you show us how to recreate what you did with Jane over there, who's your interior designer, right? So that's kind of where that's where the coaching service came from.
Absolutely love it. How it evolved and how two passions can evolve into something different. Then you find that with experience, you combine it with getting out there and being open, and boom, absolutely beautiful story and great. Thanks a lot for sharing that. What I would be interested in was, why did you initially approach me? Because your personal brand was great on Pinterest and I liked your style. I liked the way how you presented yourself, but I think your challenge was to build that brand or transform it or translate it onto a different platform, correct?
It is, I got a multi-phased answer here, but it comes down to is that I've been a consultant many years, and I teach people how to scale their businesses. And the thing is, if you're a small business starting out, there's so many social marketing channels out there. Now, you should have a basic presence on all of them, but you don't have enough capacity in a small shop to go out and spend a huge amount of marketing time on 3 or 4 channels when you're starting out. I tell people to pick the one primary channel that primary fits your demographic. Now, with my vintage and bohemian decor shop, that was Pinterest, because it's where people are starting their purchase journey. They're actually looking at, well, they're not looking, they don't know what they want to buy in that domain. They just know they have yellow walls and a red accent wall, what would go good. So they start asking questions around what goes good with that color, right? And then you mature that journey. As I started getting some traction on this coaching service, I knew Pinterest was probably not the primary channel where I wanted to be spending most of my effort initially for a coaching service around marketing. LinkedIn was the better demographic that fit for the types of clients I was looking for. So I knew I wanted to be over on LinkedIn. The challenge I had, and I knew it going in, was that I had a very informal brand on Pinterest. It's more me in the basement, like that insulator with my sleeves rolled up, repurposing a barber chair or something like that. So it's good for do-it-yourself tutorials, but it didn't really carry over on LinkedIn. I actually tried it, and those videos weren't the best fit for the platform, right? It's a much more professional, not so much the suit and tie.
Yeah,
and I could swing it the other way is I worked in the human resource and insurance sector for many years. And there I'd be dealing with actuaries. So I'd go in with a suit and tie and I'd be talking actuarial language, was almost too formal for LinkedIn. So my challenge was finding that right mix between the informal one I did on the vintage site and that very formal one that had been ingrained into me over 20 years as a consultant. And I started looking at LinkedIn for who might be a good fit to do that. And you were drawn to me because you had that perfect balance of a little bit of comedy, a little bit of seriousness, but you had actionable steps. And the actionable steps were key to me because they speak to my project management training. Is I like things I can go and execute, right? Rather than having to spend 7 months to figure out what the steps are, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, and number two, there's only a handful of users at the time on LinkedIn that really understood the algorithm and how to turn the levers. And as I started watching your videos, I could see you had that, although you may not call it the algorithm and SEO, you knew the levers to push and track to start getting your content pushed up to the top. And they've actually been very effective tools for me to actually start getting seen more on LinkedIn and targeting that very specific demographic I'm targeting with the coaching service, right?
Okay. And if I remember well, there was also a hilarious story around how I actually showed up in your newsfeed. I think that a family member actually found me because of a crazy circumstance. Would you mind sharing that?
I wouldn't. It's a great story. My daughter Bria is a Gaelic name. She's 8, and what happened is right around this time, I was looking for that expert that would have both the personal branding aspects, but also understood the algorithm quite well. At that time, I hadn't seen any of your videos, didn't actually really know who you were, but she's a big unicorn fan. You go up into her bedroom, she's got 8, we call them stuffies, but they're really stuffed toys, and they're all unicorns, or her unicorn family. So the minute your picture went across the screen, you had your unicorn logo there, the LinkedIn unicorn, and she was drawn right to it, right? And that's how we watched your first video. It was actually, she was your fan before I was, and she introduced me to you. And then once I seen your videos, I said, well, man, this is the person, I got a good feeling about this. This is the person I want to engage to help me learn that LinkedIn uniform. So you've got a very keen 8-year-old fan here in Canada that loves the LinkedIn unicorn.
Oh, I need to come and visit one day and maybe send a unicorn from unicorn to unicorn. I need to think about it. I just love the story. It's so cute. Awesome. Great. And so we worked on your personal brand. We made sure that you got a professional photo shooting where we found this perfect balance between not too stiff corporate and not maybe too playful, the creative guy on Pinterest. So we worked on that. What was the first milestone that you had, or the first moment where you said, wow, okay, this is what I need to change? The first insight or milestone that really changed your personal branding game for you?
Yeah, it's it took me a few videos, right? But it was to find that balance between the informal and the formal. But as I started getting that informal, and we talked a lot about the art of storytelling in that more professional venue, is that you want to describe the problem or the challenges the clients are having, right? And I think as I started doing that, but also started offering viable ways to resolve those problems, I started getting noticed and triggering the algorithm. Because the way I found on LinkedIn, the algorithm's triggered very differently than it is over on Pinterest. LinkedIn, it's all comments and responses and getting people to respond to what you're doing. So you show me the art of asking the right questions at the end of the videos. And as I started getting those comments, before I even turned on my outbound sales and marketing funnels, I started getting knocks on the door from podcasts. I got a good opportunity to work with eBay on their retail revival program, where they come into they launched it in Canada. They help small businesses set up, shop, and sell online. And it's also backed by the government of Canada. So I was getting unsolicited, me not going out to them, them coming to me. So that was really the first big signs I was getting on things like that. I also got invited to things like Social Media Day Halifax to be a speaker there. So it's opened up very quickly, much more quickly than I thought, because over on Pinterest, it can take you 9 or 10 months to get the algorithm running. But your tips actually have gotten me very good results, even over a 2-month period. So I've been very pleased. And I think that goes to show that I like sending test matter through the algorithms to figure out what causes them to move. But I knew if I could find the right person, you could save me 7 or 8 months, because you've been through it. And rather than starting here and running thousands of test decks through to find out what makes the algorithm work, you could get me 7 months ahead of the game. And that was very helpful.
Thanks. Yeah. And I remember that I watched your old videos. I analyzed your current videos. We changed the body. We played with the length of the videos. We made sure that we really get the right call to action. So it was great to see how you have implemented all of these things so fast, and how successful you actually reach these targets. Because not everybody really implements what you teach them or what you share with them. And you're one of these people that I work with. Whenever I told you something, you just soaked it up like a sponge, boom, and the next day it was out there. So I loved you for your energy and for your like non-BS. I just do it, I implement it, I test it. And this is why I think you got so much visibility and so much traction within that short period of time. So thank you for lifting the weights and allowing me to correct your technique a little bit every now and then.
And you're a good coach in that matter, because it's a balancing act, right? And I was struggling between that informal and formal model. And it's small things, right? Like I found you show me things that I call it 6 degrees of separation, but LinkedIn is a powerful network that you're all anybody. And it's the only platform, like I reached out to Ash Shobi. He's one of the greatest marketing minds on the planet. And lo and behold, right away, he responded, left me a voicemail message, offered to have a phone call. So it's things like that you would not get the opportunity. Even me coming from Fortune 500 consulting for years, it's very hard to knock down those barriers. I had other small things. I got offered to be a brand ambassador for a new platform called Firework. It's a TikTok type of thing. But over there, Gary Vaynerchuk has followed me, because he's always out on those new platforms following it out. So only a small thing, but it's very hard to get Gary's attention over here. But it's because of these tips that you get noticed on LinkedIn, and then it drives opportunities in other places that get you noticed as well. So I've been very pleased with those little nuances attached with building that very strong network. And it's amazed me the people that will respond to you if you just ask politely and not be really more building a conversational dialogue with them versus asking them for something right at the gate, right? So I've been very impressed with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you know how to approach people and when you come from a place of giving and of caring and being nice, the positive response rate is incredibly high on LinkedIn. I think that's something that still a lot of people don't tap into because they don't know how, or they're not sure, or they don't believe in it. So also very good for you that you leverage the power of that. Absolutely awesome. What I would also like to know is, how was the group setting for you? Because group coaching or group consulting is something that not everybody resonates with because of various reasons. I would like to have your perspective on this. So, what did you like, or what did you appreciate about the group coaching that you weren't aware of before?
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of group coaching. I've participated in a lot of it over the years, and I always believe that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? And in the group you brought together, it was almost like you're bringing experts in their field together to do that, right? And I find I learn much more from you, but you learn a lot more when you have a group of diverse people in there that can bring different backgrounds and different insights. There's actually a funny story. There's one of the times we were on the call with you, and we don't get sandstorms in Canada, but you actually had mentioned you got a sandstorm and your connection cut out. And I said, well, I remembered it because we don't get sandstorms here in my part of Canada anyway. But you dropped off. And what was good though is that the other people on the call there answered my questions and kept fielding things until you got back on the line. So it just showed the amount of knowledge you had in the room and the support. So I think that was the day I really put in. I really like this. This is a good group, and there's some different things you can get out of it. So
Yeah.
big fan of consulting. I think for me, it works very well. I know some people, it's not their cup of tea, but for me, I find huge benefit with it.
And I think the people in the group are really, really awesome. As you said, they are, experts in sales and experts in communication and digital marketing and in business development, and from different regions and different age groups. So as you said, for me, I got my perfect group of people that I always wanted to work with, and I've designed them and brought them together, and I can call them mine. So absolutely, I love the setting. I was also a little bit like, oh, will it actually work? In the beginning when I started in March this year, and it is 10,000 times better than I could even imagine. So also thanks a lot for sharing that. What kind of people should connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, I'm primarily marketing my coaching and consulting services to leverage the Pinterest search utility to drive traffic and leads to your website. So I primarily work with a couple of different segments, but it's primarily small business owners or brands that want to use organic search methods to drive traffic through storytelling to their websites and generate leads.
Mhm.
So it's a very different selling method than has been used in the past. And Pinterest is a little bit of a different, I call it a different beast than the other social platforms. Pinterest's primary function is to answer questions and drive people away to a trusted third-party site where they can answer those questions, right? So its objective is to find the best answer for you and quickly get you off their site and to that answer deck. Whereas the other social search platforms do everything in their power to keep you on the site so that they can serve up additional advertising to you. You can see this on LinkedIn or YouTube where you don't put the comment up in the body because you get less organic reach because they think you're going to go off of their site. So I think what I've been very good at is if you want to actually leverage organic growth, you're starting to see some of that dry up on Facebook and the other platforms. Pinterest is a search engine by nature, and by its nature, it's there to fulfill your request. So it is now a very good organic utility to drive a lot of traffic, and I see it being an organic utility long into the future just by the way it's designed. So I think as it grows and it's now up above the 400 million active user mark, it's a marketing tool that can no longer be ignored by brands and companies because there's such a huge demographic fulfilling questions and shopping on the platform. So I wanted to offer those services to some of these companies that are just getting into it in that small business range, that are a little bit scared, should they be online, how they could do it. And that's where I laid out my Pinterest marketing framework to show the easy steps that you could do that. Now there's a lot of work involved, but it's steps that everyone can do if they follow them in the sequential order. The other area I target is larger brands that are looking to integrate Pinterest into a broader marketing strategy.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to link to your Pinterest page, to your LinkedIn page for those people who might watch this interview on YouTube or on Instagram, because I'm going to share it all over my social media channels. Is there anything else that you would like to mention? Anything that we forgot or anything that we should point out?
No, like you said, yeah, you'll include the links, but you just go to duncangillis.tv and you'll have all my access channels for the different services. And if you're curious of how this actually works in functionality, I guess the one thing I would say is I've lived marketing in a small business and been very successful using Pinterest to drive organic traffic. So if you want to see how that works, go out and check some of the videos over on the Maritime Vintage site. And it just kind of shows you how these newer video chains through storytelling can connect and drive a lot of traffic and buyers to your site, right? So I encourage people not just to check out the coaching services, but if they want to get a feel for it, go over and check out that Maritime Vintage site as well.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today, and for also telling us your journey of transformation and how you get, or how you evolved to the person that you are today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you grow and evolve to the next level, to get more speaking gigs, to get more opportunities to help small businesses and big businesses get their Pinterest and their storytelling skills to the next level. And we definitely keep in touch for sure.
No, it's been a pleasure, and you're a great coach and a good friend, and I'm sure we'll be talking many times as we go forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. You always know when there is a question, when there is anything, you know how to reach me, where to reach me, and I give my best to help.
Good.
Awesome. So if you, dear listener, dear audience, if you're thinking, well, I want to get my personal brand to the next level on LinkedIn as well, I want to know how I can use LinkedIn as one of my core marketing and sales platforms, because you want to turn into a content machine, get more free PR, build this massive network of up to 30,000 people, and become the go-to expert in your niche. If that's what you want, then I invite you for a strategy call. What you need to do is to go to coachingwithnatalia.com. You'll find a longer letter over there that sums up who I am and what I do. If you say, well, sounds good, resonate with that, then you simply hit the apply now button, fill out a short form, and choose a slot in my calendar. And then hopefully you and I will be having a fruitful, fun conversation about your personal brand, where it is right now, where you'd like it to evolve, what the challenges are, what the risks are, what works, what doesn't work. And then based on that, we will create a roadmap for you, for your personal brand, so that people like, know, and trust you and invest in your services. And through that, you will not only design the lifestyle and the career that you want, but you will also be able to make a difference. So if that's what you want, once again, coachingwithnatalia.com. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to speaking with you very, very soon.